There comes a moment in all our lives when we stand at the edge of something new, a dream, a decision, a direction we've never taken before. And in that moment, we're not stopped by the size of the goal, but by the weight of the first step. We tell ourselves, I'm not ready, or what if I fail? But what if you rise? Or what if the first step, no matter how small or shaky, is exactly what you need to change everything? Today, I want to remind you of something you may have forgotten. You are capable of so much more than you think. All it takes is the courage to begin, to challenge yourself to take that first step, even when your legs are trembling, because once you do, the path begins to appear. The first step is always the hardest and the most important. It's that silent moment before everything begins, where the noise of self-doubt is loudest and the weight of fear feels the heaviest. It's the moment when you're staring at a path that no one else can walk for you, and you're wondering if you're enough, if you're strong enough, smart enough, brave enough. But let me tell you something. The fact that you're standing there, even thinking about taking that step, already means you have the strength within you. We often wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect version of ourselves, but in that waiting, life passes by. Doors remain closed, dreams stay dreams, and potential lies dormant. The truth is, there is no perfect time. Life doesn't wait. Growth doesn't wait. The version of you that you're waiting to become can only be shaped by the very steps you're too afraid to take today. Taking the first step doesn't mean you won't stumble. It means you're willing to move. It means you've decided to try. And that decision alone is transformational. Because every great story ever written, every dream that was ever realized, every change that ever shook the world, it all began with one step, a simple decision to begin. This step might not be grand or noticeable to others. It could be as small as saying yes to yourself, admitting you deserve more, or standing up when your mind tells you to stay down. But once taken, it breaks the chain of inertia. It opens something inside you that's been waiting to be awakened. You don't need to know the whole journey. You don't need to see the finish line. All you need is the courage to say, I will not stay stuck. I will not let fear decide for me. Because once you take that first step, your energy shifts, your mindset evolves, and your story begins to move. We live in a world that celebrates results, shiny trophies, perfect endings, flawless performances. But no one talks enough about the beginning, the messy, uncertain, imperfect beginning. And that's where most people get stuck, waiting to feel ready, waiting to be perfect before they even begin. But perfection is not the goal. Progress is. When you challenge yourself to take the first step, it will rarely look the way you imagined. You might fumble. You might not feel confident. You might even fail. But that's okay, because success doesn't come from getting it right the first time. It comes from showing up again and again, learning, adjusting, and evolving. Each mistake, each misstep is not a sign of failure. It's evidence that you're trying, that you're moving, that you're growing. We often compare our raw beginnings to someone else's polished finish, forgetting that they too started where we are. They too had moments of doubt, fear, and confusion. But they kept going. They challenged the lie that they had to be perfect and chose progress instead. That's what sets dreamers apart from doers, the courage to begin, even if the beginning isn't perfect. And here's something beautiful to remember. Your first step doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be public. It doesn't even have to make sense to anyone else. It just has to be yours, authentically, imperfectly yours. Because when you move from a place of intention, even the smallest action holds power. Think about a child learning to walk. They don't wait until they've mastered balance or perfected their stride. They fall, they wobble, but they get up. And that's where their journey begins, not in perfection, but in persistence. You too have that same resilience within you. So let go of the pressure to have it all figured out. Let go of the fear of not being good enough. The goal is not to be perfect today. It's to be better than yesterday. Take that first step with courage, not because you have no fear, but because you've decided fear won't rule your life anymore. Progress is the reward for those who dare to begin. When you stand at the edge of something new, fear will always try to speak first. It will remind you of every failure, every doubt, every reason not to move forward. But in that moment, there's something stronger waiting to be heard. Your why, that deep personal reason that lights a fire in your heart and whispers, keep going, even when everything else says, stop. Your why must be stronger than your excuses, because let's be honest, excuses are easy, they're comfortable, they sound reasonable and keep us in the safety of the known. But your purpose, that demands something more. It challenges you to grow. It dares you to rise. And it reminds you of who you are when no one is watching. When you truly connect with your why, it becomes your anchor and your engine. It holds you steady in the chaos, and it pushes you forward in the silence. Think about what truly matters to you. What do you wake up dreaming about? What change do you long to see? Who do you want to become? Your why lives in those answers. It's not always loud or obvious, but it's always there. There will be days when progress feels slow, days when you question whether you're even on the right path. That's when you return to your why, not your plan, not your timeline, but your reason. Because your reason is rooted in something deeper than motivation. It's built on purpose, on passion, on meaning. You don't need to convince the world. You just need to convince yourself that the dream you hold is worth fighting for. Because when your why becomes clear, your how begins to take shape, and suddenly the excuses that once held you back no longer carry the same weight. Yes, challenges will come. Distractions will try to pull you off course. But every time you choose your purpose over your comfort, you take one more powerful step toward the life you were meant to live. Fear has a way of disguising itself as logic. It says, maybe it's not the right time, or what if you're not ready? It wraps itself in caution, in what-ifs, in the illusion of safety. But fear isn't the real enemy. Inaction is. Because fear doesn't hold the power to stop your journey. Only your decision not to start does. The truth is, everyone feels fear before they begin. Even the strongest, the most successful, the most inspiring people you admire, every single one of them faced fear. But they did something different. They moved anyway. They didn't wait for fear to disappear. They learned to walk beside it. That's where courage is born, not in the absence of fear, but in the decision to take action in spite of it. Fear will always try to protect you, to keep you from getting hurt, from being disappointed, but in doing so, it also tries to keep you small. It convinces you to stay in the same place, to hold your breath, to wait for certainty that may never come. And here's the painful truth. By doing nothing, we lose more than we ever would by failing. We lose time, we lose opportunities. We lose the chance to discover what we're truly capable of. Action is the antidote to fear. Even the smallest step forward begins to quiet the voices that say you can't. Every time you choose to move, to try, to speak, to create, you're teaching your mind a new story. A story that says, I am capable. I am not my fear. I am stronger than I thought. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply begin, not with a grand gesture, but with a quiet decision to not let fear win today, because the more you act, the less power fear holds. And the more often you move through fear, the more you realize it was never as big as you thought. Every journey begins with a brave decision, not a loud one, not a perfect one, just a decision, a quiet personal moment where you say to yourself, enough waiting, enough doubting, it's time to move. That one decision might not change everything overnight, but it changes you. And that's where everything begins to shift. It's easy to believe that change comes from big events, dramatic choices, or powerful breakthroughs, but most of the time, transformation starts with something far smaller. A single moment of courage, a choice to rise, a decision to say yes even when everything in you wants to run. That moment, your first step, is sacred. Because it's not just about action, it's about identity. It's you telling yourself that you are no longer someone who stands still in fear. You are someone who moves, who dares, who begins. And the beauty of that first step is that it doesn't have to make perfect sense to anyone else. It doesn't have to come with a guarantee of success. It simply has to be true to you. Whether it's sending that message, enrolling in that course, showing up for yourself, or walking away from what no longer serves you, that step becomes the foundation of something greater. We often underestimate the power of beginning. But beginning creates momentum. It signals to your soul that you are ready. And when you show up for yourself, even in the smallest ways, the universe has a way of meeting you with opportunity, growth, and strength you didn't know you had. There will always be reasons to delay. There will always be fears and doubts trying to hold you back. But the day you choose to take that brave step forward is the day your journey truly begins. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real, honest. Yours, sometimes we think our journey is only about us, our goals, our fears, our victories. But the truth is, every step you take forward becomes more than just progress for yourself. It becomes possibility for someone else. You may not realize it, but your courage to take that first step might be the very thing that inspires someone else to rise. There is someone watching you, someone who sees your effort, your resilience, your quiet bravery, and in your journey, they find hope. In your willingness to begin, even when it's hard, they find strength to believe that maybe they can begin too. That's the ripple effect of courage. It doesn't stay contained. It spreads. It lights paths you may never see, for people you may never meet. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be at the finish line. You just have to be willing to walk your path with honesty and heart, because in doing so, you show others that it's okay to start from where they are with what they have, that they don't have to wait for perfection to begin. They just have to begin. We are all connected in ways we don't always understand. And when you rise, you create space for others to rise too. Think about how many times you were inspired by someone who simply dared to try, someone who failed, got back up, and kept moving. That person may not have known the impact they had, but it stayed with you. It shaped your belief in what's possible. You have that same power. Every small act of courage, every step forward you take, builds more than your own future. It builds hope in places that need it. It reminds others that they are not alone in their fear, or in their struggle, or in their dreams. And sometimes, that's all someone needs, a glimpse of what's possible. So when you feel like your effort isn't enough, or that your step is too small, remember, it matters. You matter. Your story, your strength, your start, it has the power to become someone else's reason not to give up. Take the first step, not just for yourself, but for everyone who needs to see that it can be done. Life doesn't ask us to have it all figured out. It simply asks us to begin, to rise above our fears, to silence the noise of doubt, and to trust that even the smallest step forward can lead to the greatest transformation. You don't need a perfect plan. You need purpose. You don't need to wait for fear to disappear. You need to act anyway. You don't need to see the entire path. You just need to take that brave first step. Because the moment you do, you break the chains that have held you back. You shift your energy. You reclaim your power. And most importantly, you light the way for others to do the same. So today, challenge yourself not to leap over the whole mountain, but to simply take the first step toward growth, toward change, toward the life that's been waiting for you to begin. The journey ahead may not be easy, but it will be worth it, and it all begins with one decision. You will not stay where you are. You will rise.